hibernation and Zozo's performances over the weekend. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. RICO Meat.
And the crowd goes wild.
Happy Kwanzaa, everybody. Today's the first day of Kwanzaa.
I thought you were going to say Happy Cabbage Day or something like that.
It is Black Hanukkah.
You know what? It didn't even say that on my it didn't say that on my daily calendar that today was the first day of Kwanzaa, or else I would have mentioned that. My bad.
Yeah, that's like your daily calendar.
It sounds like your daily calendar is culturally biased, Jason. It's not my fault.
No, you also have 8 crazy nights.
Yeah, Kwanzaa is
every
8
night's
days.
crazy.
Yep, 8 nights.
I'll tell you
That's
what.
right.
One way or another. But anyways, let's talk about 2023. It's been a mixed bag of a year for the global cannabis community. As we look to what the future might hold, now's the time for every one of these analytics shops to process what happened before applying their logic and philosophies and offering predictions as to what they believe is going to happen next. High Times' AJ Harrington reported yesterday that a UK-based cannabis data, media, and tech company, Prohibition Partners, released their 4th edition of its Global Cannabis Report Friday, boldly predicting worldwide legal adult use cannabis sales to nearly double, growing to nearly $50 billion in 2027. But should we be listening? The firm credits its bold predictions drivers as momentum in the global cannabis reform and new European rec markets opening over the next 3 years. In introducing the new report, Prohibition Partners said that North America remains the global powerhouse of legal cannabis with strong state-by-state growth, promising regulatory reform and international isolationism in the U.S., while Canada's strong international presence but challenging domestic environment persists, and also that Europe continues to be a somewhat fragmented and heavily regulated business environment, seeing steady growth concentrated in key countries, incremental but important progress on adult use legalization, and ongoing legal confusion over CBD. The report forecasts global annual sales of recreational cannabis totaling approximately $49.7 billion by 2027, nearly double the current rate of $24.9 billion. It says this growth will largely be driven by continued policy reform in the U.S. and Europe, with North America remaining the global leader in worldwide adult use cannabis sales. Overall sales of cannabis in Canada currently approach $6 billion. Or about 4.5 billion in U.S. freedom bucks, with 93% of that of the total representing recreational cannabis sales, and remaining 7% coming from sales of medical cannabis. Legal sales of cannabis in the U.S. totaled about 26 billion in 2022, including 17 billion in recreational cannabis sales and almost 9 billion in sales of medical marijuana. Total legal sales in the U.S. are expected to reach 33 billion by 2027. The Prohibition Partners also takes into account trap sales, which are mostly left out of the public-facing data sets, which is why I like this one. They say the approximate unregulated sales included in the total. This report pegs the entire U.S. market at about $100 billion currently on an annual basis. Adult use legalization coming to Europe, and in Europe, adult use legalization is still in its infancy, with Malta being the first country to legalize, although only nonprofit cultivators and dispensaries are currently allowed to operate. Switzerland is currently testing several pilot program models, and the Netherlands is also trying research-based legalization. Germany's adult use plan expected to go into effect early 2024, and other regions also included an expansion of global cannabis market include Latin America and Africa, which Prohibition Partners says are both slowly moving towards becoming sources of supply for the global industry while keeping access for patients limited domestically. Oceania continues to be a hotspot for growth in both imports and exports, but the Asian market remains virtually untapped, according to the report, with Thailand and Japan cited as notable exceptions. Prohibition Partners senior analyst Alex Cortejai co-authored the report and said that the worldwide cannabis industry made new strides over the past 12 months in both adult use and medical reports, and projected continued growth going into the new year. In an email to High Times, he wrote, 2023 has been a challenging but progressive year for the global cannabis industry. In Europe, we saw the first legal recreational cannabis sales with the pilot projects in Switzerland and the first recreational cannabis controlled supply chain sales in Netherlands, as well as progress with Germany's adult use framework. Globally, medical cannabis patient numbers have also been increasing. In North America, the market continues to grow, with U.S. states such as Kentucky, Ohio, Minnesota opening their markets to either medical or recreational cannabis. We've also seen some progressive reform of cannabis policy globally and advances in commercialization, getting solid foundations for a positive 2024 for the global cannabis as a whole. Although 50 billion globally in 2027 seems like a crazy number currently, I personally think they might be being a little conservative here. I do like the fact that this shop outside of America is taking into account the trap sales, which nobody else really seems to want to touch because of uncertainty. But those are just my thoughts on it. Global market is in its hockey stick moment right now as we see more reform across the board. And we're also seeing more and more folks just leaning towards recreational sales. But those are just my thoughts. I'm Rico Lamite, the dopest dad on the street. Love to hear what the rest of the team thinks of this one.
Why are they called Prohibition Partners?
Because it sounded cheeky back in 2017 when they decided they'd snap up and help us to understand things.
I think
probably
that's a
because it was
terrible
available
name for them.
The URL was free.
It's just I feel like Project Sam should own Prohibition Partners.
What do you think about these numbers, Jason?
I mean,
think they're spot on? I think the 50 billion globally by 2027 is very, very conservative number. I think it's going to be a lot bigger than that.
I think it could be. I think it could be, but I think a lot of the policy is going to dictate where that number actually is, and how much of that number is actually really able to be quantified and not just throwing shit on a wall.
Right. But I think also the intersection of technology right now and AI being applied across the supply chain globally is going to speed this up even quicker.
Yeah, but
I think people are going to be running. I think people are going to be firing on all cylinders before possibly leapfrogging a lot of this legislation.
AI ain't quantifying the trap.
Real problem.
AI ain't quantifying the trap.
Yeah, optimize the trap.
Neither are they, right? And neither are they. And I've seen this time and time again when data companies claim that they're taking into account that which they can.
That's what these guys are doing.
You know what would be?
That's why I said. That's why I actually.
Where do they get the info from?
Show me the methodology.
I think they get it. I think they get it from Telegram accounts.
Well, they said approximately. They said right now. They said right now the U.S. is at about 25 billion.
Yeah, but where are they basing it off?
Hold on. And they said they account. They said we say that with an asterisk because we believe that there's approximately right now the U.S. market is at 100 billion given all of the illegal sales. So they're saying that the illegal sales in the U.S. are 3 times as much as the legal sales.
But here's the thing. I don't understand how they extrapolate that information.
I don't.
No, they can't.
They can't.
Like I said, they can't. But they're the only ones making an attempt to acknowledge.
We make attempts every day, Rico, but we're not getting put in the paper.
Walk me through this. So you're like, yo, did the box arrive? Great. Yeah, it did. How's the paper? It checks out. Cool.
They could be pushing too. They're over in the UK. They could be the ones. They could be the ones behind all those bags being caught up at London Heathrow. I don't know, Jason. You tell me. You're over in UK more than I am.
Prawn it. Check in and let Prohibition Partners know the moves I'm making that are off.
I think Jason Beck. Jason Beck is covertly feeding information to Prohibition Partners and giving them those $100 billion numbers.
Yeah,
How about that? That's my conspiracy theory for the morning.
Yeah, I tabulate my trap sales and I turn them into the Prohibitionist network. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But the official prediction of 50 billion globally, do you think that's spot on? Do you think that's conservative like I do? Do you think that is overblowing it?
Definitely.
I think it's very conservative.
I think it's a good start just to throw a number out there.
There's nothing wrong with having placeholder numbers, but I think one of the reasons why other organizations aren't trying to extrapolate the trap volume is because it's
extrapolate, if you will.
I already went there, and that was my previous. It's not my fault. I got the worst microphone on the team, and nobody can hear my funnies.
Don't worry, we'll help you out one day.
I don't understand how anybody can reasonably support their guesstimate. It's good to have a placeholder because it acknowledges that it exists. But Prohibition Partners doesn't have deep legacy connections.
How do you know? They could have the most poppin' Telegram
Okay, we'll take
channel
that
on the
out
internet.
of the equation as they did with their $50 billion prediction, and give me your assessment on the $50 billion. The $50 billion number has nothing to do with their trap approximations that they're making. I was acknowledging it. I was giving them props for being the only one that actually says, although we think that it's around $100 billion, we can't say it is, but we think it's $100 billion.
I think it's probably bigger.
I think if you take all the police reports, from one calendar year and add that all of that up, I think you could make an extrapolation and quantify that as what the police caught as 10% of the overall black market, and then quantify at that valuation that law enforcement gives, and then quantify that, and then you could capture the whole black market.
Yeah, I think it's interesting the way that they said that they believe that Latin America and Africa are going to be the biggest exporters when the dust settles.
Well, I think you look at Colombia right now. Look at Colombia already. Colombia is already one of the largest exporters.
Yeah, Colombia already think about it. Like Colombia already has the framework with the global. I mean, like it or not, the global drug trade that has been flowing. They have all the channels. They have all the trade routes there.
Yep. And Africa has the cheapest workforce that you're going to find anywhere on the planet.
That's not cool.
Colombia's pretty cheap too.
Is it really?
It's $5 a pound to grow. So
I bet you it's $3. I bet you it's $3 in Africa.
Maybe $5 a pound.
Just to one up you.
To compete.
Just to one up you, Todd.
The question isn't how low of a price per pound can we grow cannabis in foreign countries. The question is, how do we drive the price down to zero by exploiting yet another region of agrarian workers? Let's make sure they don't have any health insurance.
Are we providing jobs, Yarrow? I think that's a little, we're providing jobs.
Jobs don't matter unless they're sustainable and there's something that somebody can really sink their teeth into.
Sustainable, that's a greeny word. All right, they just need to be good paying jobs and help benefit their communities.
Good paying jobs. That's what I
not sustainable. Sustainable is way too much of a greeny word.
Yeah. We're gonna start calling you Yarrow de Silva.
Good paying jobs is
Yarrow de Silva.
Yeah, De Silva, Lulu over there.
This is going to be a Yarrow de Silva moment for sure.
Oh man,
what do you think? You've done some international work, Saman. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, truly, there's no other, option for like mass cultivation other than Africa or South America. There's just not enough area. There's the labor. Obviously, we've touched on that. That's a huge part of this. Cannabis is still going to be grown everywhere. You're going to have like this is going to be just like a regional thing that happens. It's going to be really expensive wines coming from California still. Of course, really expensive weed coming from California still. But there's just like, a limited amount of resources here for us to do that. We have to go through hoop after hoop to kind of get into a position, and you can go into these other countries and you start making commerce internationally right now. So, I think that South America is great. I actually have a story about Colombia today, which is going to be interesting. So we are going to dive into this topic a little more later. So we'll save some of the comments for then.
Saman, don't you just call all those hoops? Don't you just call those hoops that everyone has to hop through houses?
I mean, this isn't like get us like finance your next status where you just house to house.